Hello everyone and welcome to the third lecture of Strength of Material. In the last two classes, we have discussed some fundamental concept of engineering mechanics. For example, taking reaction, making the free body diagram and so on. In this class, we are going to discuss the first topic of your syllabus, that is the simple stress and strain. From the theoretical aspect, we are going to study few concepts, for example, normal stress, normal and shear strain, and lastly the Hooke's law, where we will see what is the relation between stress and strain. But actually, when we will see the numerical part of this chapter, there are huge number of problems. When you will attempt those problems, your concept will build. For example, if I will show you few problems which are important for the gate, here I am showing one bar and multiple forces are there, and I am interested to find the stress in BC section or change in length in the BC section. Second problem showing that this is a composite bar made by two material and there are two forces P1 and P2 acting here, and we have to find the change in length in the two parts. That is also again a problem where we have to make the free body diagram and we have to visualize what force will be there in the bar. Third one is the extension in the length due to the self weight. Fourth one is a problem of composite bar where I am applying a load W. So here the change in length will be same but the loading will be different. Similarly, this is a bar which is having a pin joint here and connected with a bar which is vertical. I am applying a force F here, so what would be stress here? Or what would be the shear stress in this pin joint? The next problem is a problem of temperature stress or the thermal stress, where this is a composite bar of aluminum and copper, and if I am increasing the temperature, how the length will change. This part we are actually going to cover in our next session. Here we will primarily focus on the problem where there are shear stress and normal stress involved. This is a problem of shear stress where I am putting this pin inside this hole and I am applying a vertical load. So what will happen to this pin? Here I am showing a rigid bar connected with the three wires and an eccentric load, and how the stresses will generate in the three wires. In the same line, there are multiple problems. We will try to cover as many as problems so that you have a concrete concept which you can apply to solve the problem in the gate examination. So let's start with the concept of stress. What is a stress? Stress is defined as the intensity of internal loading or the internal loading per unit area. So we must understand what is this internal loading. Let's see here. We are applying external force F on this bar and the bar is in static condition. May be possible that when you will apply this force F, there may be some extension in the bar, but after that the system is in static equilibrium condition. That means the bar is applying some resistance to the external load so that the system remains in static condition. And how we can visualize this internal force? Let's see that this is my force, this is my bar. I am applying force here, because of that some change in length, and here the red bubbles are actually showing the atoms of this material, and these atoms are connected to each other. So when I am applying certain force here, it is transmitted within the body through these molecules. Suppose I will cut my bar from here, and if I will see, I will able to visualize that there will be distribution of a force, and the net force here will be equal to the force applied at the other end. So I know that the total force here will be what? The total force will be equal to F. So here, if I want to define the intensity of this loading which is distributed over the area, I can say that it will be what? It will be F by A, where A is the cross section area. So this is nothing but my stress, and generally defined by one symbol that is known as the sigma. And this is the normal stress because whatever area I have considered and the loading are orthogonal to each other. As this is your stress, we can also define the strain. Strain is nothing but the change in length divided the original length. As I said that when I will apply a force, there may be change in the length, and that change in the length and the original length define your strain. So ratio of the change in length by the original length is strain. This is a symbol known as the epsilon, and and the unit of strain is meter by meter. That means it is a unitless quantity. Next thing is the relation between the stress and strain. If I am working within the elastic limit. Now what is this elastic limit? That we are going to cover in detail when we will talk about property of material. Here you consider that if the system within the elastic limit, that means if I will remove the force F, the material will regain its original shape. So material is behaving like an elastic body. When I will apply the load, there will be change in the length. When I will remove the load, the material will go back to its original shape. In the elastic limit, the stress is proportional to strain, and this is your Hooke's law. If I will remove the proportionality sign, there will be a constant which is known as the elastic constant. So E is what? E is your elastic constant. Here I can also define it as the Young's modulus. And the Young's modulus is defined as the ratio of stress by strain. We are going to use this formula extensively in this chapter as well as in other chapters. So this is what? This is your stress and strain. After that, let's see that how we will differentiate the normal stress and shear stress. Here I am showing that this is a circular bar and I am applying a force P. So whenever you want to define a stress, you have to first understand one resisting area. Please remember this term, resisting area. If I am considering that this vertical area is actually providing the resistance, so the loading will be perpendicular to this area. So I will define that whatever stress this area is going to subject is my normal stress. That will be the ratio of P by A. If I am interested to find what would be the resistance offered by this oblique area, let this is the AB area, which is at an angle theta from the horizontal direction. Now what will happen? Because of the P load, I can define two component of P on this area AB. One force which will be perpendicular, another force which will be tangential. So these two forces will define two types of stress. If I will put Pn by the cross section of this area, and let assume the cross section of this area is A naught. So my normal stress on this AB plane will be P normal divided by the A naught. On the other hand, if I want to see what happens when I am applying a tangential force, PT is what? PT is actually a tangential force or the force which is parallel to this area. So this will generate a shear kind of effect that is known as the shear stress. So your PT by A naught is shear stress and the Pn by A naught is your normal stress. The shear stress can also be understood by looking these two problems. In the first case, we are having a punch which is used to make a hole in this plate, and suppose the thickness of the plate is T and the radius of this circular hole is R. Here again I have to see which area is actually the resisting area. I can identify this vertical wall is actually responsible for the resisting the change or the resisting in the deformation. So the area will be what? 2 pi r into T. And if I will assume that I am applying a force F so that I will be able to make this hole. So my shear stress will be what? My shear stress will be F by this 2 pi r and T. Similarly, if I am having two plates, there is a hole and I am putting this pin inside this hole, and after putting this pin I am applying a force P here. So here also, if I am interested to see the forces in the plate, in that case I will consider this area which is perpendicular to load. So here with respect to this area I am going to define the normal stress, but when I will see the resisting area for the this pin, I will be able to identify that this area which is parallel to this loading is actually responsible to resist the deformation. So this area is nothing but the pi r square, where r is the radius of the pin, and my loading is acting parallel to this area. So the stress generated because of this kind of forcing will be shear stress, and its magnitude will be what? The loading divided by the area. So here the pin is in under shear stress. Similarly, instead of having two plates, if I am having three plates, The three plates which is also going to generate shear stress, but that is defined by the double shear. And why I am explaining this example? Because many times we see that the pin is in double shear. What does it mean? It means that if I will visualize the failure of the pin, or if I will visualize which area is actually responsible for the resistance, I can identify that there will be two area, one in the top side, another one here. So these two area are actually responsible for the resistance. So when I will take the shear stress will be what? P by the area which is responsible for the resistance. So it will become P by 2 pi r. So I will say here that my pin is in double shear. However, in the previous case the pin was in the single shear condition. After that, let's solve one very important problem, that is the forces within the bar. And for that I am showing here three bars, and all the three bar having different kind of loading. And suppose I am interested to find the stresses within section AB, or what is the change in length in this section AB. So to find the stresses and strain in section AB, I have to make the free body diagram of this bar. When I will make the free body diagram of this bar, I am having a force of 100 Newton here, and the support will also apply equal and opposite force. So I will have another force that is of 100 Newton, no other force. So my stress will be what? My stress will be simply the load divided by the cross section area, and let assume the cross section area is A. So the stress will be 100 by A, and since there is no other force within the bar, the stress will be constant throughout the length. Whether I am talking about the section AB or BC, it will be same as 100 by A. Now let's see the second problem. In the second problem, in addition to the 100 Newton force, I am having a second force which is an external force and of magnitude 200 Newton. It is acting at point B, and now I have to find what would be the change in length or the nature of stress in this section AB as well as in section BC. And for that, again we have to make the free body diagram. Here I am going to explain one conventional method which we have to learn to solve this kind of problem. And what is that? We have to make the free body diagram, but instead of making the single bar, we will break the bar in multiple section wherever we are having an additional force. So here this is, let's BC section, and this is your B and A section. And we have to start from a free end where a known force is there. So in this case we are having C as a free end, and the force 100 Newton is known to us. So let's make the 100 Newton force here. After making this known 100 Newton force, we should think that the system is in static equilibrium condition. That means if the BC portion is also static equilibrium condition, there will be equal and opposite force at the other side. So I will put a 100 Newton force here. After putting this 100 Newton force, I can say that BC is in static equilibrium condition. But what about BA? So as I have added 100 Newton force, let assume that this 100 Newton force is actually there because of the second section, that is AB section. So BC will also apply equal and opposite 100 here. So conventionally, I will make 100 Newton here, which is there because of this 100 Newton. And after putting this 100 Newton, I am making second 100 Newton, and these two will be of equal magnitude. Once I will make this 100 Newton, now I have to see, is there any other force here? Yes, it is there. This is of 200 Newton acting at point B towards the left. So I will put now this 200 Newton. So we can make an equivalent force by doing algebraic sum of these two forces, and I will get a net force of 100 Newton acting towards the left. By looking this 100 Newton, we can apply equal and opposite force here, and that will be of 100 Newton acting towards the right direction. And this is nothing but your reaction coming because of the ground. So here we can see that BC section is going to subject a load of 100 Newton. AB section is also going to subject a load of 100 Newton, but this is a tensile force and this is a compressive force. So when I will define the stresses, I can define the stress in BC, that will be of 100 by A, where A is the cross section area. Similarly, the stress in AB will be what? It is also 100 by A, but here this is of tensile nature and this is of compressive nature. In the third problem is also similar to the second problem. The only difference, we are having a 100 Newton force here. and that 100 Newton will give a surprising result, that is there will not be any stress in AB part. Let's see it. So for that, again make the free body diagram. So this is your first BC section, we are having 100 Newton here, so let's make 100 again, and second section is your AB section. Let's put equal and opposite of this 100 Newton, and again I am having an additional force of 100 Newton. So let's put this 100 Newton towards the left side. This is my this 100 Newton. Now what, when I will do the algebraic sum, I will get the 0 Newton. That means there will not be any reaction from this side. So my reaction will be what? My reaction will be 0. It indicates that AB section will not have any force, so the stress here will be 0. However, in this section we can define the stress. Stress in BC will be what? Stress in BC will be of 100 divided by cross section area A, and the nature of this is T. However, for AB it will be. To reinforce the same concept, let's do two more problems. Here we are having three sections AB, BC and CD. We are applying force 200, 1200, 800 and P is unknown. And we have to find the P so that the system remains in static equilibrium condition. Here also we have to make the free body diagram. And we know that from our conventional method, we should start from a free end where known force is there. So we can start from this D section where we are having a 200 Newton. We know that the bar is in static equilibrium. So let's put equal and opposite 200 Newton here. After putting this 200 Newton, we have to just put a 200 here, which is equal and opposite to this force. So these two forces will be equal and opposite. Then see, is there any other force at the section C? So we are having a 1200 Newton force that is acting towards the left. So this is my 1200. After algebraic sum, I will get a 1000 Newton force acting towards the left. So this side, by looking the force to the right side, we can write the force at the left side, which will be equal and opposite to this. As we are having 1000 Newton here, and equal and opposite 1000 Newton will come here. In addition to this, we are having a 800 Newton force. So let's put this 800 Newton force acting towards the right. Algebraic sum will give a net force of 200 Newton acting towards the left side. So equal and opposite to this 200 will be here, and this is your P. But when I will see the problem is showing that the P is leftward, but actually I am getting P towards the right. So what I will do, I will put that this P will be what? This P will be minus 200. So now I can visualize that this bar is in tension, this is in the compression, this is also in the compression. And if I will write the stress value, here the stress will be what? 200 by the cross section area. Here the stress will be 1000 by the cross section area. And here the stress will be again 200 by the cross section area. This is of tensile nature and these two will be of compressive nature. So actually what will happen here? Length of AB and BC section will reduce. However, the length of CD section will increase. This kind of problem we will do in our next class. So quickly do the last problem so that the concept will become more clear to you. Here I am going to just make the free body diagram, not more than that. If you are interested, you can solve this problem numerically. So I am having three sections. Let's start with the free end. Here I am having of 100 Newton. So this side will also have 100 Newton. I'll put 100 Newton here. Then I am having 300 Newton. So this is my 300. Algebraically, I will get a force of 200 here. Equal and opposite 200 will come here. I will have a 200 equal to opposite to this. Then I have 800 Newton which is acting towards the right. So I will get an equivalent force of 600 Newton. So equal and opposite to this 600 Newton. So this is the force in different section of the bar, and after that you can get the uh, stress and strain in different section. I hope that these four examples will help you to build a concept of solving problem of bar with multiple forces. Now let's see the concept of shear strain. In case of normal strain, the strain is defined by the change in length by the original length, and this quantity is unitless. When we talk about the shear strain, the concept of shear strain is little different than the normal strain. And how we define that? The shear strain is your angular deformation. An angle is defined the shear strain, and how we can visualize it? We are having a rectangular body A, B, C and D. and I am applying a tangential force here of magnitude F. What will happen to this bar? As the base is fixed, I am applying a force at the top plane. The top plane will try to move towards the right, but the bottom plane will remain in its original position. So the deformed shape will look like a parallelogram. So this is the deformed shape. And in the deformed shape, if I am interested to find the strain at point A, please remember, whenever you define the shear strain, you define the shear strain corresponding to a point. In my case, let's assume that I am interested to find the strain at point A. So what I need to do, whenever I am having a point, I have to identify two lines which are perpendicular to each other before the deformation. So in my case, line AB and line AD are perpendicular to each other before the deformation. And when there is a deformation, the angle will change and the deformed angle can be defined. So here, if the line AB is rotating or deforming angularly, I can define this angle gamma, which will give me an indication of shear strain. So here, this angle will define the shear strain. Actually, the tan gamma is your shear strain, but I assume that the gamma is very small, so the tan gamma can be written as only gamma. So my shear strain will be defined by an angle gamma, and it will have a unit radian. So whenever you will define the angle, suppose this is 30 degree, you cannot say my shear strain will be 30. My shear strain will be what? My shear strain will be 30 into pi by 180. Please remember, when you define the shear strain in terms of angle, it should be in radians, not in the degree. If I am interested to define it with respect to the tan theta, I can say that the tan theta will be ratio of the perpendicular by the base. Let's assume that this deformation is del and this length is a. So I can say that my shear strain, and this shear strain is average. Every time we talk about an average shear strain, so the average shear strain will be what? Change in length divided by the side length a. So we have two perpendicular side. With respect to this perpendicular side, I define the angular deformation and then I can define the shear strain. Let's see two more problem. Here I am saying that now both all sides are free. There is no fixing of the bottom surface, and I am applying two forces F1 and F2 on the top and vertical side. Because of these two forces, this would be the change in the shape of this rectangular body. So there are two angular deformation. One angular deformation with respect to this vertical side, and the AD is also having angular deformation with respect to AB. So there are two deformation, theta 1 and theta 2. So the total angular deformation will be what? Theta 1 plus theta 2, and this would be my shear strain. Similarly, if I am applying these two forces in the opposite direction, there will be again deformation, but the rotation will be of opposite side. Let this is also theta 1 and theta 2. So my shear strain will here theta 1 plus theta 2. How I will differentiate these two deformation? These two deformations are normally differentiated by the sign of shear strain. In the first case, the shear strain will be positive. In the second case, it will be negative. How we can understand this? Let's take this problem where I am saying that earlier the two sides are of 90 degrees, so pi by 2. After that, it is of theta angle. So this difference is nothing but the sum of these two angles. So it is my shear strain. Theta is after deformation. So in the first case, theta is less than 90 degree. That means I will get a positive shear strain. But in the second case, the theta is more than 90 degrees. So my shear strain here will be negative, and that will define that the angle is increasing after the loading, or here the angle is decreasing after the loading. So this is all about the shear strain, and if any question will come in the competitive exam, it will not go beyond these concepts. If you remember these 3-4 concepts, you have covered the shear strain, and if the question will be there, I am 100% sure that you will solve the problem. After shear strain, let's solve the last problem of this session. In the next session, we will talk about the temperature stress. So here is my problem. I am having a horizontal rigid bar pinned at one end and connected with a vertical circular bar which is deformable. The cross section of the circular bar is 2 centimeter square, and there is a pin inserted at the pin joint, and the diameter of the pin is 2 centimeter. I am applying a force of 2.4 kilonewton at the tip, and I am interested to find the stress in the vertical bar as well as the stress in the pin. So here the stress in the pin will be shear stress. How we can visualize that it will be shear strain? The pin is going to break in the three pieces, and if I will see the nature of the direction of the loading and the resisting area, both are parallel to each other. That means the nature of stress in the pin will be shear stress. However, the force acting in the circular bar are axial force, so the nature of stress in the circular bar will be normal stress. First, make the free body diagram of this system so that you will be able to find the forces at different locations. So this is your free body diagram. I have removed the vertical bar and replaced it by a force P. This is my pin joint, and if you will recall the previous session, when we remove the pin joint, we apply two forces. This is my free body diagram. After making the free body diagram, let's do the horizontal force balance. So AX will be 0. When I will do the vertical force balance, I will get the AY, which is acting upward, plus P and the 2400. This is my equation 2, this is my equation 1, but I will not get any absolute value of AY or P, so that I have to write the equation for the moment balance, and let's do the moment balance at point A. When I will do moment balance at A, effect of AY and AX will nullify, and there will be only two term, one with respect to P into 5, another one is 2400 into 6, because P is having a perpendicular distance of 5 and the 2400 Newton force is having a perpendicular distance of 6. Now what is the sign? P is trying to rotate the body in the counterclockwise sense, so put it negative. 2400 is trying to rotate clockwise, so put positive. Using this equation, you will get the P value. When you will put P here, you will get the AY. After getting the P and AY, you can calculate the stress, because the force acting in the bar is P, which is axial. So my normal stress here will be what? P by the cross section area of this bar. It is given that the cross section area of the bar is 2 centimeters square. So when you will put the numerical value, you will get the normal stress. Similarly, when you want to calculate the stress in the pin, this AY is actually acting at the pin side. So the pin is going to subject a load of AY, and there is a double shear in the pin, so it will be 2 pi r square, where r is the radius of pin, and that would be the shear stress in the pin. So in this way, you can calculate the shear and normal stress in different components of this system. I'm closing this session with this note. In the next class, we are going to talk about the thermal stresses, composite bars, as well as number of numerical problems. So good day and thank you.